Hey everyone, Iron Monk here, and this is going to be another commentary video. This one's going to be a 17 the other side. So this is the first video I did with a second potency conduit. So now I'm Kyrian, and I'm running Coordinated Offensive, which is the Storm, Earth, and Fire Fixate potency conduit, and then I'm running also Calculated Strikes, the Spinning Crane Kick one. So in this first pull here, we lust it. You just want to be careful here because these little lads here drop these lotus flowers on the ground, which then do a purple AoE on the ground. So you have to make sure that you're not in it. So I'm trying to be careful here that I'm not in that AoE. For legendary, I'm also running Invoker's Delight as my legendary here, and the fixes in this dungeon are Sanguine, Fortified, and Quaking. So we're finishing up this first pull here. It's pretty easy, and then we'll get up to the next pull. So I only used one charge of Storm, Earth, and Fire there. I could have used two, but the next pack is also kind of big, so I saved one charge of Storm, Earth, and Fire. So I only popped Zuen and one charge of Storm, Earth, and Fire, and also the Kyrian ability, Weapons of Order. So I'll use my second Storm, Earth, and Fire here. You want to make sure you get kicks on this Death Speaker. The Shadow Core ability does a lot of damage to the tank, so you want to make sure that you guys rotate kicks on it. It also puts a nasty dot on the tank, so the tanks will be cutting out a lot. And this Death Speaker also does a frontal, so you're just going to try to make sure that you're not in that ability. So I'm just focusing down the Death Speaker here. Some more of those Lotus Flowers went on the ground. I gotta watch out for the frontal from the Death Speaker. So we're just finishing up this pack here. Try to do Sanguine management so the mob doesn't heal. There he goes with the frontal again. That is a one shot, so you want to make sure that you're not in front of that. I also added an ability tracker now, and I know a lot of you guys asked what for an ability tracker. So on like the bottom right of the screen above the damage meters, you could see what abilities I'm using. So next is this Enraged Spirit. This Enraged Spirit here, we have a Night Fae in the group. So if you have a Night Fae in your group, you could drag this mob over to this urn here, and once the urn activates, it stuns him for a certain number of seconds. So we're going to activate this urn and finish off this Enraged Spirit. So this spirit also drops these masks totems on the ground. If you stand in them, it's actually a lot of damage. You can see them here spawning. There's red circles here. They can be stunned, and if they're stunned before they go off, it doesn't do any damage to you. But I'm just trying to stay out of the way. Okay, so now I have all my cooldowns back up. I have Storm, Earth, and Fire, I have Weapons of Order, and I have Fury Zuen. I think right now we're only going to go into the Bone Soldiers pack. So this pack here will proc our first Pride. It'll give us our 20% Pride mob. So we're going to quickly finish up this pack here. I use my Ring of Peace. It's always good to take Ring of Peace to help with Sanguine. And then we're going to finish up this Pride, and then we're going to go into the 2-pack here after this. So basically our strat is to lust the first pull, get 20%, then head back towards Hakar. Someone body pulled these mobs here. I actually think this is a wipe here. I think we actually wipe it up. Yeah, we call for a wipe here. So we're gonna wipe it, and then we're gonna release and come back with. So we didn't kill the Pride. We call for a stop DPS on the Pride. He's at about 1%. So we release, and we're gonna come back, kill the Pride, get our Pride buff, and then finish off that 2-pack. That was unfortunate though. So I think they also recently buffed this dungeon timer. Or nerfed the timer and gave you an extra 2 minutes on the timer. So that's good. So we're just running back here so we can get to the Pride, finish it off, get our buff, and then finish off the 2-pack of mobs over there. He has like no health, so he's just gonna get one shot. And then we finish off these two. I'll use Storm Earth and Fire here again because I had 2 charges. You never want to sit on 2 charges of Storm Earth and Fire. You don't want to cap on them. So if you have 2 of them up, just use 1. Don't sit on your cooldowns too long. I'm holding Zwen here, which looking back on it, I probably should have used Zwen in Weapons of Order here. I don't know why I held on to him. So because we have a run back to a car. In general, it's always better to try to get the most amount of cooldowns as possible out in a dungeon. The other strategy would be to coordinate your cooldowns with other people. You don't want to everyone use their cooldowns on one pack and then have nothing for the next pack. But looking back on this right here, I should have popped Zuen here with Weapons of Order and Storm Earth and Fire because we have a run back. I'm trying to line up my cooldowns right now from here on out that all my cooldowns are available on Hakar. He seems to be kind of a boss that is one of the harder bosses in this dungeon. Oh, and then we almost died from quaking there. So these devoted here, they do a devoted sacrifice cast, and you want to stun them before they get it off, or they spawn. They turn into like a I don't even know what it's called, some sort of Hakar, mini Hakar mobs. So you want to watch the priest here and make sure you kick its heal. I used cooldowns on that pack. I'll use my next charge of Storm Earth and Fire on this pack. So you want to make sure you kick the heal on the priest so it doesn't heal up. And then these guys do a Blade Storm. You could stun it. I don't have stun up right now, so just trying to keep max distance away from them. You have a Hexer in here. I believe the Hexer also does a heal, a Lightning Discharge, and also a Hex Cast. So you want to make sure that you're interrupting those. So I'm just staying on the Hexer to kick the heal on it. He has the most health, so I kick the Hex on him. So I call for someone else to kick the heal. There you go, Healing Wave, Blade Storm. These Deathwalkers that you're doing the Blade Storm also put a bleed on the tank, so the tank has a kite quite a bit here. And then they also drop, when they die, they spawn these Fixate ads, these spirits, and they could be either, if you're a Blood Elf, you could Blood Elf Torrent them, or you could purge them with Hunter Tranquilizing Shot. So another pack here, we have a Hexer and some Devoted. So we grip them in. They also don't drop Sanguine, which is nice. So we're going to finish off this Hexer, and then there's another urn here, so if you have a Night Fae in your group, you could pull the next pack back and then use the urn to stun them, and we'll do that here in this group. I used my Touch of Death there. Alright, so we're going to line a little bit. I have no cooldowns going into this pack at all. I kick the Hex there on the Hexer, and we're going to use the urn here to stun them. So they get stunned for a couple seconds. Oh, I popped my Zuen here, which looking back on it now, I should have held on to it. Because it's always best to line up Zuen with Storm Earth and Fire. It's just a general like WoW philosophy in general to try to line up your cooldowns as best as possible. So the tank has a kite here. There's a lot of Deathwalkers. There's 2 Deathwalkers in here, which, like I said, apply the bleed onto the tank. And when these priests get low, they start running away and fleeing, so you don't want to lose track of them. And this will be our second Prideful mob at 40% trash. So I have about 50 seconds on Zuen. So it didn't line up quite perfectly, so I'll wait on the boss a bit to use Storm Earth and Fire and Zuen together. With Weapons of Order, of course, the Kyrian ability. So we're just going to finish up this Pride here. I know it's a little rough on healers here, especially if everyone's holding cooldowns for the boss. So we're going to have the Pride buff and Lust on this boss, so it should die pretty quickly. So I still have about 10 seconds left on my Zuen. And I have 2 charges of Storm Earth and Fire coming up. So I'm sitting on cooldowns here. We lost. Alright, I pop Zuen, Weapons of Order, and then Storm Earth and Fire. So on this boss here, you want to make sure the ads die. Because the ads, if they don't die, they put a shield on the boss. So the less ads that are up, the smaller his shield is. So it's almost better to kind of focus down the ads. So he has this blood barrier. And these ads fixate on you and stuff. And there's also, you see, there's a red circle that spawns below some people. You just want to make sure that you're not in it because it will spread to you. So the ranged here, these ads fixate on people, and I think our range was out a little too far here. So it's hard to go cleave down an ad. Oh, so this looks like it's bad. The boss is at 1% with a shield on it. I'm telling everyone to just break the shield and the boss dies. You want to make sure the shield breaks so it's kind of a wipe. Alright, so we broke the shield. Spawn point should be right outside the doorway here. Or here maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway. We're going to go out here, and then we're going to go towards the Mechagon area, wing. A lot of travel time in this dungeon. There's basically 3 wings. There's the Hakar wing, the Ardenweald wing, and then they have this Mechagon type wing of the dungeon. So we're going to fight this robot thing, this driller, or this defunct dental drill. It does this cast called Haywire. You just have to LOS it. I actually think I mess up here. I meant to Karma and Diffuse Magic it, but I think I just pressed... No, I got them both off. And I'm just going to LOS when I start taking a lot of damage. And then when I LOS there, since I have my Storm Earth and Fire Spirits out, I could still like Spinning Crane Kick and still do damage to this mob, which is nice. So if you just LOS and you have enough chi to Spinning Crane Kick or anything, you can still hit the mob, even while you're LOS'd. Because your clones copy whatever ability you do. Alright, this dog-looking robot casts this ability called Wolf. And it just puts a circle on the ground, or it puts a circle around somebody and stuns them, so you just want to make sure you're out of that. These headless clients do like this discharge cast ability that does damage to people, and then they also start spinning up and do like a AoE ability, so you want to make sure that you're out of that as well. I'm going to use Ring of Peace here to knock him out of Sanguine. Trying to get interrupts on the discharge. So now there's 3 of these headless clients. Just trying to look for interrupts and trying to stay out of the AoE here when they spin up. Just trying to minimize deaths here, so I'm trying to play a little bit safe here. These mobs are pretty dangerous. I think we saw our rogue. I think he got hit with the spinning up ability, the AoE. The spawn point here, I think once you enter wing, it's going to be right outside the wing, so he's pretty close. I'll use Ring of Peace there. It looked like it was an okay Ring of Peace, maybe not needed. And here's another defunct dental drill. And then I'm doing the spinning crane kick thing again behind the wall while I'm LOSing. I think we're calling for a commit here. Got a little spooky there. I use Ring of Peace here to just knock those other guys away because they blow up on their own. This Lubricator casts this ability called Lubricate, which does some damage and then also causes you to miss some of your abilities. Then it needs to be kicked. And it also does a self-cleaning. I think it's a self-heal on the enemy. Just want to make sure that you pretty much kick every cast from this guy. So up here on the left, if you're an engineer, there's a button you could press which stops these slimes from going across. These slimes are a one-shot if you get hit by them, but if you're an engineer, you could just turn it off. So we're gonna make sure we get our kicks on here. I think some of the lubricate casts do get off here. Yeah, there it is. It causes you to miss a lot of your abilities and does damage to your group. I stun there. He healed up a little bit. You be careful here. If you use the engineering stop, it does time out eventually, so you don't want to be stuck in the middle there with the slimes when they reactivate. So here there's 3 Sentinel Oils. They cast this Essential Oil ability, which does damage. It's like a targeted ability that does damage to somebody. It's just a random target. So make sure you try to get kicks here. I think you could also LOS it behind the door if you're ranged. And these 3 mobs here will spawn our 3rd Pride, which is our 60% Pride. So we'll have that buff going into the boss. So we're going to finish this up and then move into our Pride mob. Make sure that we're spread for the Quake. And we're just going to finish this up. So this boss up coming up right now, it's important that you don't kill the first mob. There's 2 of them. The first mob, you could use it. So basically, they both have different abilities, but if you kill the first mob, you won't be able to use that first mob's ability on the second mob, and I'll try to explain it when we get to it. So it's very important that this first mob here, because the boss is a 2-boss fight kinda, that you don't kill the first one. So Millhouse over here, you want to make sure you just don't kill him. So he'll spawn these crystals here, and these crystals need to be soaked. I think it's also a damage buff for you if you stand in the line from them. So they'll summon these power crystals. You want to make sure you soak them. This boss will then also spawn. Will also target 2 people. So I have this thing over my head, and you want to make sure that you draw a line through the boss. So basically, you want to move out. It'll draw a line, then draw the spike thing up. So you want to make sure it goes through the boss, but as soon as the thing goes off your head, you want to move out, because what that ability does, it stuns the boss, but it could also stun you and do a lot of damage. So you want to make sure that, the line goes out, then you move. So they did it right there. But you want to make sure that this boss doesn't die. I think it goes down at about 10%, so we're good. This Diabolical Boom is like an AoE ability, so to make sure he gets stunned before he casts it. I'm not sure if he got it off or not. So he didn't die. So the fact that he didn't die, now we could use Millhouse's ability on Mana Storm, which is this, it's basically a purple circle that gets targeted on someone, and if you drop it on top of Mana Storm, it stuns her. So you want to move out of it, so she'll get stunned here. And that's important here because she does this really big AoE ability. I think she's about to do it in a second, and you'll see that we're able to drop the circle on top of her. So that's on the rogue, so I'm going to move out. She's going to get stunned again. So this experimental, this robot chicken cast here, you just want to make sure that you drop it on top of her because she'll do like this constant AoE, and if you stun her like this, it'll stop it. And now we can finish off Millhouse, and then we should be able to kill Mana Storm before she's able to cast her robot chicken ability. So I believe these bosses die at 10% health. And she'll periodically spawn these bombs around the room, and you can just have range go and just click on them and disarm them. So now we're just going to travel back to the main area and then head to the Ardenweald zone. I don't actually know if it's actually Ardenweald zone or some sort of the fairy zone. So this enraged spirit here, we have no urn for it, so we're actually opting to lust it. So we're gonna pull it. We're gonna pop Bloodlust. I'm gonna pop what cooldown I have, which I have Zuen, but I don't actually have Storm, Earth, and Fire. So just to make sure that you're not in those enraged masks. And then he does this Enrage cast, which does a lot of AoE, which that's what the urn helped out with before it stunned him. So I popped all my defensives here, and we just finish him off with Bloodlust. Looking back on it now, it looks like we still had 20 seconds of Bloodlust left, so I'm not sure if it was worth it. But it's good to get Bloodlust on cooldown because we didn't lost the Mana Storm boss. Alright, so this is going to be another one of these Death Speakers here, which does the frontal and the shadow core ability on the tank. There's also an urn here that we're going to use. This urn will stun all the mobs for a period of time. I'm going to watch my feet here, make sure I don't get stuck in those Lotus Flower AoE. All I have is Storm, Earth, and Fire here, so I'm just going to use that. He's doing a frontal. Make sure I know that I'm not in it, so I'm going to hang out here. I'm trying to focus on some of the mobs on the back. Like I said, these mobs here put a dot on the tank, so I'm going to make sure that we try to finish them up. Use my Ring of Peace. Wasn't a very good Ring of Peace. Try to get him out of Sanguine. And then we're going to start heading up towards our last zone. And unfortunately, Death Speaker is stuck in Sanguine casting. Healed up quite a bit. It's always try to go to, when you can, to not let mobs Sanguine heal up. It just costs more time. So we have about 15 minutes going into this last zone here. So we still have 2 bosses left. I think we're kind of feeling like maybe we don't have this key yet. But we'll get it in the end. Spoiler alert. Barely. So here's a little mini gauntlet. There'll be like stuff that falls out of the wall that will do damage to you. And I just got hit. It does significant amount of damage to you, as you can see. Just going to heal myself up a little bit here. And I would consider this part of the dungeon the most fun part, because you can get some pretty good AoE in on everything. Oh, our healer actually died and released, and he's got a really far run back. So we're actually just going to wait here and figure out if I could figure out how to work my map. So we don't want to go into this pull without a healer, because we're actually going to do a pretty big pull here. But we're waiting for the healer to come back. Alright, we said F it, and we decided to go in. And I'm going to pop all my cooldowns here. You just got to watch out for the ground effects on the ground. There's like some stuff in here that will silence you. Some stuff in here that will do damage to you. You just got to be very careful. I stood in some stuff, that's why my health is so low. This is one, like I said, this is my favorite part of the dungeon. Because these mobs here aren't super dangerous to DPS. Or even to tanks, really, so you could pull pretty large. They don't do anything crazy. Alright, this next pull here will be our Pride. Pull these Spriggans along with the Rune Stag. And this will be our 80% Trash Pride. So you get Pride every 20%. Pretty easy pack. I don't have any cooldowns for it. Alright, here's our 80% Pride. And we're going to do another big pull after this. No, actually, I forget what we do here, actually. There is an urn available, but I don't think we use it yet. Oh, okay. I do remember. Yeah, this is a kind of a deviation of what I normally would do in this dungeon. I normally would, after this Pride, grab a bunch of mobs and use the urn on them to stun them, but we've somehow, for some reason, we've started pulling the sides here, which is a much smaller pool, much less percent, and less efficient than what normally is done here, which would be pulling a bunch of mobs into the urn. So this is actually a fairly small pull for utilizing Pride, because of the damage buff and the healing buff that you get from it. But I pop all my cooldowns here because I don't want to sit on them. And we finish up this pack. And here we utilize, I think right here is where we utilize the urn. So there's another urn here that stuns mobs. And you can actually pull a lot of trash into this and use the urn. I don't think we pulled enough trash into this, in my opinion. And then Blade Beak gets pulled in. So the tank's just kiting him up. And the tank decides to pull the other side here. Yeah, like I said, this is deviation of what normally I would do. We do have a rogue to shroud, so we don't need to necessarily get all of our percent in that last area before the boss. I pop my cooldowns here again. Oh, I think I body pull this Sky Talon. And then we call for a wipe so the healer could res us. So I'm just going to stand in here and die. That might have been my fault for coming over a little bit too much there. Then the healer's going to res us. He got quaked. Quaking interrupted his res, which is unfortunate. So we're going to try another res here. And I get quaked on and die. So now it's going on hill. The rogue already shrouded. So I'm trying to make it. They're already mounted up and running down. And we're just going to pull in our last trash here. So we only have about 7 minutes left now with 2 bosses and some trash and a prideful mob to take care of. It's looking not so hot for us. I start holding cooldowns here because I want them for the boss. I think we end up here that this percentage right here is not enough. Yep, we're at 99%. So we go pull some of these stealth, these Spriggans here. This should be enough for our prideful mob. Our 100% trash pride mob. So I have all my cooldowns up for this boss. So this boss here is one of the more difficult bosses in the dungeon. There's basically this debuff called Arc Lightning, and it needs to be passed around. I think it's a 3-person rotation. You basically don't want anyone to get a lot of stacks of this Arc Lightning ability because it does a lot of damage. And then there's also, it periodically spawns these things on the ground that will knock you up in the air, and then when the boss does a certain ability, you actually have to step in it to go up in the air so you don't take a lot of damage. But anyway, we have Bloodlust, pop cooldowns, pop everything. Those are those effects on the ground that will knock you up in the air, so you want to try to avoid them now because we don't need to use them. So I got the Arc Lightning on me. So I want to make sure it gets passed to somebody else and then not back onto myself. So right now it's on the tank, so I'm trying to... Alright, so I just pop cooldowns here, and actually I think I go up. Yep. Explosive ability, I forget what it's called from the boss, but you want to make sure that you get knocked up in the air so you don't take a lot of damage from it. The Arc Lightning got passed back to me, which is fine because I had 0 stacks, but it does do quite a bit of damage to you. And then randomly I get this bomb put on me, and I want to make sure that I go up in the air so it explodes up in the air and not on the group. And I don't have a lot of health right now. And I accidentally hit a trap. But the boss is almost dead, so we're kind of just committing at this point. I should have committed there. And I'm living. Oh, I died. Oh, good thing it was at the end. So right now we only have about 3 minutes left, 3 minutes 30 seconds, but we're running back towards the boss, so we're actually going to have less time than this. At this point in time, the group was pretty much given up and said we don't have enough time to do this, and I said, yes we do. If we hurry up, everyone start running. So we're all trying to book it there as fast as possible. The tank is a bit far back behind compared to us. This last boss is, in my opinion, the easiest in the dungeon. You just got to make sure that you dodge his abilities. He'll do a left, right, and frontal ability, like in the center. So you just make sure that you avoid all that stuff. And this boss is pretty easy, and he's not doesn't take that long. So we're going to this boss with about 2 minutes 35 seconds or so left on the boss. So we go in. I'm saving cooldowns here because Boam Samdi will help us out on this boss if we're able to kill our ads. So basically you want to assign tanks and healers to one door. Basically there'll be 4 doors that spawn around this room when he phases. You want to assign a tank and a healer to one, and then 1 DPS to each of the other 3. And then basically you kill the ad there and you click the totem, and Bomb Swamdi comes out and nukes the boss for you. So I'm saving cooldowns right now because damage right now is not super relevant. So I'm saving because I want to make sure I get that totem down. I do have Touch of Death right now. Wow, so there you go. He's going towards the right, so he's going towards the left, so I want to move right. So I do have Touch of Death, which is really big on that ad. Now he's doing that frontal ability, so I just move out of melee. He's casting it now. Making sure I click on my door. And my ad will start spawning here. You only have a limited amount of time to kill this ad. If you get hit with these balls, it will spawn an AoE on the ground, so you just want to make sure you watch your feet. It's very faint. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm not in it. It's not a big deal if you hit them. It's a big deal if you stay in the AoE, though. I think I use Touch of Death here to finish him off. Yep, I do. Make sure that I click my totem. So we only have about a minute left. Eventually this boss, when it phases back, will port everyone back to the platform to fight him again. Here we go, we're getting ported back. I click on a pot here. So Bomb Swamdi will nuke this boss down. He dies at 10% health. So I'm trying to do as much damage as possible here. So he's at 14%. Gotta get him down to 10%. We only have 30 seconds left. So he does have a lot of health. So that 13% is a little deceiving of what to get him down to 10, how much that actually is. He's doing a frontal. Make sure I'm out of melee. Going back in. Oh, I almost died there, which would have been unfortunate because the death costs 5 seconds on your timer. So I would have kind of trolled there. And we got him. So that was it. That was a 14 the other side. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also check me out at twitch.tv/IronMonkTyson. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.